Hey everyone, I just received my Spectravox in the mail today. So as you know, this is a semi-modular analog spectral processor. In layman's terms, I really think what this is a variable filter. So what I mean by variable filter is that it's not just a low pass filter or a high pass filter, but it has the ability to create band passes or notch filters. And in this case, it actually can make quite a complex filter over the frequency spectrum. So it's a spectral filter. It has a VCO, which gives you a pulse wave and a saw wave, and you can control it just like you would expect a normal VCO. It has an envelope with no attack control, but it does have a decay control, and you can control it that way. But really, it's the filtering that makes this interesting, and the spectral shift allows you to shift that filter up and down the frequency spectrum. Now, beyond just the filtering, it also has a program analysis. So what that basically means is that you can send in a signal into the program input, and it will analyze the frequencies of that signal and create a complex spectral filter based on it. And it applies it to a carrier signal. So if we have the carrier signal set to VCO of the unit, it would take the filter of, say, your voice and apply that to the pulse wave or something like that. And that is the basis of a vocoder. So you can use it as a vocoder, or you could just use it as a complex filter. Although you can play it on its own, I think it's really going to shine when it's in my Eurorack setup and used with other modules or the Sound Studio. Okay, so if you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I put out a ton of videos on the Sound Studio. When I saw that they were releasing a new synth in this form factor, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. But that doesn't mean it's a no-brainer for you. So what this video is all about is just giving you a taste of what your first 30 minutes with the Spectravox will be like. We're gonna play it as a synth and adjust the filtering. We're gonna send an external signal from the DFAM into the Spectravox and use the Spectravox to filter out the DFAM. Of course, we'll show off the vocoder. And then finally, it does come with these patch cards. There are 5 of them that it comes with. 2 of them are just initial presets for the filter bank and for the vocoder. But there are 3 other ones that are kind of like cool noise, percussion sounds, and we'll walk through some of those patches as well. So really, all in all, this is a very, very easy, approachable synth. But as I play with it more, I'm probably gonna take some deeper dives with it. So make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. So with all that said, let's go make some noise. All right, I've got the Spectravox hooked up to my Arturia key step, and I've been playing around with it for just a few minutes. Right now, it's set into the filter bank mode. I'm gonna set things to the filter bank initial patch that came with it. Basically, we're turning all of the filter bands down. So right now, everything is completely cut off. So even as I play a sequence, we're not going to hear anything. But as we turn some of the bandpass filters up, you start to hear sound. So basically, these are just a bunch of different band passes, and you can kind of shape your filter so it's not just high pass or low pass. And that's what variable resonance filter means. It's that it can create all the different shapes like band pass, notch filtering, high pass, and low pass. So it's a little bit different than what's on the Mother, for instance. But let's play it, and I'm going to turn up the resonance a little bit to get some of those valve sounds. Now what's really cool about this is when we turn the spectral shift knob, it basically shifts all those filter banks and those filters. And if the resonance is up, it creates some really cool effects. And then of course you have this LFO right here, and you can change the amount. This is an attenuator for the amount of the LFO impacts the spectral shift. So let's turn that up at a very slow sweeping LFO rate. I gotta say, when you turn up this low end, the bass sounds just really kicks out. And of course, this is just, it's a fun synth to play with the keys. Because we have the patch bay, I can actually hook up the mod wheel to the spectral shift. So as a spectral filter, we can also use it to process external audio. Right now I have a patch coming from my DFAM and I'm plugging it into the carrier. And if I hit play on my DFAM, where right now it's playing but nothing's happening, and that's because the VCO mode is still set to envelope. So if we were to turn up the decay, but then it'll go away. But we can easily bypass the envelope, just like on the Mother, by turning this to on. Super fun stuff. And let's just take, just for the fun of it, let's take something like the filter envelope and plug that into the shift and see what that sounds like. Awesome stuff. And I mean, you could even trigger it from the DFAM. Let's just plug in trigger into our trigger input and set it to EG. One patch point that I really wish it had was a way to modulate the decay. I know that that's one of my biggest complaints with the Sound Studio. I just wish you could modulate that decay. But that's all right. But in this case, you could see how that would sound awesome. But whatever. You could of course use an external module and send that in through the VCA CV, but you would just have to use your own envelope to accomplish that. Okay, so I've got the vocoder set up. It's pretty interesting. Basically, you just set it to vocoder mode right here. You plug in a microphone into the program input, and this is the vocoder initial patch that came with the Spectravox. So right now you can see the gain levels right there, but you can't hear anything, and that's because it's set to envelope. But if I set this to on, whenever I talk through the microphone, it's going to trigger the envelope. And then you can, of course, play notes as you're talking. So let's listen to just a little bit of what that sounds like. So, I mean, there's a lot of fun to be had. Just to go through some of the switches, I was reading on what the program trigger to envelope is. What this does is when you have the VCA mode in envelope mode, you can turn this on and it'll just trigger the envelope of the Spectravox. So if you wanted to set it to a lower decay, or you could set this to VCA mode on. It'll come through the VCA mode. Now you can also catch a certain phrase and then play it. That's what this hold does. So what you want to do is switch it on when you're actually saying something. So I'm just going to say like ah through the microphone and switch this on and it'll catch it. Ah. Okay, so now it's going to hold that. And so theoretically we could play it. And so what's basically happening is you have a program input and you have a carrier input. And so the program input is whatever is coming in here, and that what it does is it goes into an analysis filter bank and it analyzes the harmonics of whatever sound's going in, and it creates a filter that's not a clear low pass or a clear high pass, but really if we saw it graphed out, it would be kind of up and down all over the place. So it analyzes the sound coming in, creates this unique shape for a filter, and then applies it to the carrier, which is whatever the sound is. So in this case, what you're hearing, my voice is being used to create a unique filter. And then that filter is being applied to a pulse wave. And then that's the sound that comes out. And that's why the spectral shift, you can take that unique shape for the filter and move it up and down the frequency spectrum. And I mean, that's basically all this is. It's just kind of like a really fancy filter. Let's go through some of these other patch cards and see what we can come up with. Okay, so this first patch is called Cobblestones. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, this patch, Did I Buy a Marimba? And this is the last one. It comes with oblique percussion. So let's see what we can get with that. That's pretty fun. Well, it's definitely a great noisemaker. So there you have it. That's the Spectravox. I hope that gives you a sense of what it can do. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Before you go, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.